Olá, bem-vindos à Igreja no Mundo, o programa da Fundação AIS aqui na sua televisão. Sou Paulo Aido e hoje quero-vos convidar para verem um documentário, um filme, sobre a Indonésia, no maior país muçulmano do mundo. A comunidade cristã é minoritária e tem sido vítima de violência, de atentados, mas apesar de tudo isso desenvolve um enorme trabalho social. Vamos ver.
What is the biggest Muslim country in the world? A country many thousands of kilometers from Mecca, Indonesia. Of 200 million Indonesians, approximately 87% are Muslim, mainly Sunni. There are numerous other groups, a few with a vociferous fundamentalist bent, though a tolerant Islam based on Javan traditions dominates. A saying that has become widespread claims that Indonesia presents Islam's smiling face. Though the world's biggest Muslim country, Indonesia has not become an Islamic state. It remains an experiment of peaceful coexistence of various religions, reflected in the country's motto, unity in diversity. This is not, however, a laic country. Faith in God, reflected in the country's 6 official religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, Catholicism, Protestantism and Islam, is reflected in the nation's constitution. Christians from various denominations make up about 12% of Indonesia's population. 3%, 7 million Indonesians admit to being Catholic. The circumstances of Christians, however, vary considerably from region to region, depending on which of the 17,000 islands they inhabit. In this film, we will visit 2 islands: the phenomenon of the uniquely Catholic island of Flores, with its overwhelming seminaries, and Java, with its often uneasy Christian-Muslim relationship, which all at once provides hope that an open dialogue can lead to a peaceful coexistence between the communities.
Jadi bertumbuh dari hal yang sederhana.
It all began with little things. For example, when I was little, I often saw a priest celebrating the Eucharist, which always aroused my curiosity. My motivation to become a priest slowly matured. I want to serve people, not without aim, but to bring them closer to God. In a world that is seemingly ever keener not to believe in God, that claims God to be dead or non-existent, I can at least tell people that God really does exist and that He continues to love them.
Mario Francisco is one of several hundred seminarians preparing for the priesthood on Flores, part of Indonesia's Lesser Sunda Islands archipelago, one in a chain of volcanoes that make up the Pacific Ring of Fire. With a population of just under 2 million, Flores is the only Catholic island in Indonesia. What makes Flores so unique?
Flores menjadi pulau Katolik karena yang
In my view, Flores became a Catholic island because the first to come to this island were the Portuguese.
sebagai pedagang
They came here as
untuk
traders
mencari rempah-rempah
to do business.
lebih dulu daripada
Earlier than
Muslim
Muslims or any
ataupun
Protestant faction.
Protestan.
They were already
Sudah
here
pada
in the 14th
abad
century.
ke-14.
They talked about their
Tentang iman
faith.
Mereka
They taught
mengajarkan
people the
membuat
sign of the
salib,
cross,
membuat ini
translated the catechism into the local language, and consequently young people let themselves be
Semua
inspired.
orang mudah sekali menangkap.
It is interesting when we see
The Church's rapid development on this island is interesting. It all began because our culture was and remains open to the teachings of Jesus Christ. In our culture, we believe in one God. His name is Morikrai, which means Almighty God. Secondly, this came about thanks to the astuteness of the missionaries, because from the very beginning, though above all in the 19th century, the Society of the Divine Word Fathers educated the local inhabitants by setting up seminaries for boys and seminaries for priests. Thirdly, the missionaries did not begin their work with typically missionary undertakings, but with charitable deeds, education, schools, hospitals. And so the people of Flores realized that these were good people. Why were they so? Perhaps thanks to their faith. We also want to share their beliefs.
Today, the Diocese of Ruteng, one of 4 on the island, runs over 50 male and female congregations alone. The witness to the faith of the priests and sisters that work here encourages others to choose the religious life. Father Richard has been a priest for 10 years. He works in one of the poor villages of the Manggarai region. The majority of his parishioners are farmers who grow rice on the terraced paddy fields, dependent on the seasonal rains. Whole families work in the fields. Not all the children attend school. What persuaded Father Richard to follow the voice of his calling?
Saya merasa
I believe that God called me
saya ketika saya
when I
masih
was still in
SD
primary school.
kecil. Waktu itu
When I was still
pastor
little,
yang
at
menjadi
that
pastor
time,
paroki saya adalah
Joseph van Hoof,
pastor
who came from
Van
Holland,
Hoof, Joseph.
became our parish
Dia
priest.
dari Holland, dari Belanda.
He got on very well with the
Dia
children.
sangat dekat dengan
I had a
anak-anak.
feeling
Saya
that by becoming
merasa
a
bahwa
priest,
dengan
I would be able to
menjadi
work for many
pastor,
people,
saya
but not only
bisa
that,
bekerja untuk banyak
that I would
orang.
endeavor to pass on the love
Tetapi
of
tidak hanya
Jesus
bekerja, tetapi
that I had
saya
experienced
bisa
in my life
coba
to
berusaha
other people.
untuk menghadirkan cinta Yesus yang saya alami dalam kehidupan saya kepada orang-orang lain. Berkeluarga. Oke. Untuk saya orang-orang muda,
as far as
dia
I'm
bebas
concerned,
memilih
young
menjadi
people
apa
can
saja.
become
Yang
whoever
paling
they
penting
want.
ialah bahwa
Most important,
dia
that they should
mempercayakan
entrust their
hidupnya
lives
kepada
to God.
Tuhan. Syukur kepada
Thank
Tuhan,
God, up to
kalau
now,
sampai dengan
many
sekarang
people still
masih
continue
banyak orang
to want to
yang
become
ingin
priests
untuk
and
jadi
nuns.
pastor atau jadi suster.
Itu sangat tertarik dengan gaya hidup
They are very
para imam
interested
dan
in a
para
priest's
misionaris
life.
dulu yang
Earlier on in a
bekerja tanpa
missionary's
pamrih,
life,
jalan
in
ke
people who work
daerah-daerah
for
yang
free,
sulit,
travel to
daerah-daerah
isolated
yang
parts of the
mengalami
island,
banyak keterbatasan,
where they have to
tapi
confront
mereka
numerous
melaksanakan tugas
obstacles
perutusan Yesus itu dengan penuh
and yet
cinta kasih.
fulfill Jesus' calling
Karena
with
itu
love.
banyak di antara orang Flores
That's
itu
why so many of
tertarik
Flores's
dan ingin
inhabitants
bekerja di
want to
kebun
work
anggur
in the Lord's vineyard.
Father Yanto, a Carmelite, runs a propedeutic seminary. Boys unable to attend the minor seminary are prepared here to later pursue higher education studies. students come here from Flores, as well as Timor, Java, Kalimantan and Papua. After a year's preparation, they can choose to go to a diocesan seminary or enter a monastic order. However, both seminary and seminarian suffers from the same malaise, an acute lack of funding.
Seminari Santo Paulus yang sudah berusia 25 tahun.
St. Paul's Seminary is 25 years old. The basic construction material was bamboo. The seminary is very modest. There are problems with holes in the roof. The walls are beginning to fall apart. And what with the rainy season like now, the water pours into the seminarians' rooms, with many ending up ill. I most urgently need help from the Universal Church to rebuild the dormitory, the alumni hall, and the dining room. All are presently in very bad condition.
In the centre of the island, near the city of Malmera, stands the major seminary. The citizens of Flores take pride in pointing out that this is the largest complex of seminaries in the world. St. Paul's Seminary of Ledalero, run by the Society of the Divine World Fathers, was founded in 1937 by 3 Danish missionaries. Nearly 2,000 priests have since passed through its walls, 17 of which have become bishops. Almost 900 seminarians from Flores' diocese and different congregations are presently studying here.
In Indonesia, especially in Flores, right now the vocation is growing. The numbers of seminarians are increasing, and when we look for the background, we can find that the Florenese is very religious. And then the parents, the family, they like to send their children to the church, to the seminary. The church in Indonesia is a growing church. The number of Catholics are increasing because people are looking for the peaceful life, the spiritual needs. And they find that in the Catholic Church, their needs can be fulfilled.
Kirche in Indonesian Hilfebrau von den Universal Kirche.
The Indonesian Church needs help from the Universal Church. We need not only financial help, but also spiritual. We are a minority here in Indonesia. We Catholics make up a mere 3% of the whole country's population, which sometimes makes us feel like a tiny flock. Yet we are a part of the Universal Church. We feel united through prayer, which gives us a feeling of unity and strength.
The invitation to follow the road of a vocation in Flores is clearly falling on fertile ground. What vision does Mario Francisco have of an ideal cleric as he prepares for the priesthood?
Seorang imam yang baik, kalau menurut saya, yang pertama,
a good priest is first and foremost a priest who has a close, intimate relation with God. But he should also be able to translate that which comes from his prayerful life into the everyday service towards his fellow human being, especially towards the poor, the small, the marginalized. If we follow Jesus, he tells us, you must serve your fellow human being. Jesus did not call people uniquely to prayer, but also to serve, and then to become involved, to live and understand people's suffering. That, in my view, is what makes a good priest.
I love him, I love him, I love him, and where he goes I follow, I follow, I follow. You always be my true love, my true love, my true love, for now until forever, forever, forever. Keep me away, away from his love. I love him.
Our religion teaches us that we should be able to live together among others, among the people in the world, because our God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, created us. Ya ayyuhan nas. Okay. Ya ayyuhan nas. Inna khalaqnakum min dzakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum syu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. What is the purpose? The purpose is lita'arafu. Lita'arafu, it means to know each other, understand each other. Also, we have to respect each other among the people with the differences. Although they are Muslim or not Muslim, they are Catholic, they Hindus, they Buddhists, they Protestant, they still the creation of our God.
Mr. Marsudi is a leading member of Nahdlatul Ulama, one of the largest socio-religious Muslim organizations on earth, with an estimated membership of from 50 to 70 million followers. Together with Muhammadiyah, the second comparable Indonesian organization in size, they represent an example of a more open and tolerant face of Islam.
Islam di Indonesia,
Islam in Indonesia, whose believers make up 90% of the population, developed within a cultural dialectics up to the times of animism, dynamism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Islam on the archipelago has blended in with the local culture and local wisdom without upsetting the existing ancient riches, such as the Buddhist Borobudur temple, that survives well preserved to this day. Indonesia's Muslims coexist with people of different faiths, willingly integrate culturally, and remain wholly accepting of local culture and local wisdom.
Indonesia has for centuries been inhabited by people of various faiths, including groups that have grown within Islam. In recent years, the country has experienced serious democratic changes, evidence of which includes the election of a Christian and representative of the Chinese minority as governor of Jakarta.
Keadaan Gereja Katolik di Indonesia,
the situation of the Catholic Church in Indonesia is basically good. It cannot be compared to countries where wars and bombs, etc., are reported to occur every day. It does not happen here. In general, we can worship freely. There are difficulties, only in certain places. In the province of Aceh, there is only one Catholic church, and several stations, and even they can never worship comfortably. So, in certain places, with a majority intolerant Muslim population, the Catholic Church cannot flourish in numbers. But with regard to constancy of faith, I think that they surely remain firm as Christ's disciples. Whereas, for example, in Yogyakarta, a part of the island of Java, freedom of religion was proclaimed by the Sultan as early as 1914. Here the culture is very open and tolerant, so that the Catholic Church in the Archdiocese of Yogyakarta and Semarang has been in general flourishing in many ways.
Subur dalam arti banyak hal.
Obtaining planning permission to build a church numbers among the most problematic issues for Christians. More often than not, it is not the opposition of Muslim neighbors that is the problem, rather the aggressive protests of radical groups from different parts of the country, though above all else, the never-ending formal bureaucratic obstacles perpetuated by local authorities. In the instance of West Java, an application can on average take from 10 to 15 years to process. The parish of Kampung Sava received all the necessary permissions to commence construction of St. Stanislav Kostas Church, including consent from their Muslim neighbours, only to have the permit revoked by the court following protests from fundamentalist groups brought in from other regions of the country.
Last time they came here with 6 buses from Bandung, came here. It's nearly 200 kilometers. They just came here to protest. Well, they shout that this is illegal. Sometimes they say that we are the infidels. We should not be here. We hurt them as the Muslim because of the church. They denied our very existence to be here. They asked the local government to cancel the permission they have given us. And now we lose in the court. The continuation of the building must be stopped right now. When we lose in the higher courts, then we lose everything.
Despite the difficulties, tension and fears that a church 3/4 built might be demolished, Father Jacobus and Mr. Anton talk about the many instances of cooperation with Muslims and mutual neighbourly help. Local Muslims are equally afraid of the fundamentalists.
Our legal representative in the court, 5 of the Muslim, 2 Catholics, 2 Protestant. The member of Nahdlatul Ulama, they came to us, they offer some help to us. Last time they sent us around 40 people with all their dress and attribute and uniforms. We put them in front and we are behind them. We have to help one another. They are also building a new mosque now. We bought for them a piece of land aside the mosque, and we paid for them also the bathroom to wash their hand and face before the prayer in the mosque.
They are still our brothers, our sisters, they are our friends. We just hope that one day this will get better. We do not hate them or something like that.
Orang-orang Muslim yang moderat,
moderate Muslims in general do not have any objection to the establishment of churches.
Untuk mendirikan gereja, usaha sekuat mungkin untuk menolak.
The ideology of the state, Pancasila, upholds freedom of religion. There are some people in this country who actually do not accept Pancasila.
Yang sebetulnya tidak menerima Pancasila.
Because Indonesia is open country for all, they can join and come to Indonesia, and then they build a mosque here, and sometime, and now also they build the school, and they teach them as they want like this, and also their follower increase. We cannot stop them. We just educate the people. If you join them, you will become as they are. If you join us, you will become like us. We can live together among others.
Dialog menjadi penting.
Dialogue is becoming ever more important, seeing that the conflicts to date have more often than not been political and not religious. We endeavor to discover religious means that promote peace, love, and respect for others. Because if we want to honor God, we must also learn to honor His creation. Theological and ritual issues are every believer's private concern. I hope that such a model of Islam might become prevalent among all Muslims.
Tidak mengherankan bahwa di Indonesia ini
It is not surprising that in Indonesia there are some families with Muslim parents who have Muslim and Catholic children, and they live together harmoniously. Social observers in Indonesia have commonly warned that the development of Indonesia in the future will be increasingly Islamist. Hopefully that does not mean fundamentalist Islam, but the moderate variety. I have no problem with the latter.
Tetapi Islam yang moderat, kalau itu tidak apa-apa.
Depois deste documentário sobre a vida e o trabalho que é desenvolvido pela pequena comunidade cristã na Indonésia, o maior país muçulmano do mundo, vamos agora fazer uma viagem geográfica, vamos até o outro país, vamos até à Síria, também uma viagem no tempo. Vamos viajar até ao tempo recente em que grande parte deste país, portanto da Síria, esteve dominado, esteve controlado por grupos terroristas que tiranizavam por completo o cotidiano da comunidade cristã, da pequena comunidade cristã. Esta é uma viagem a um tempo que importa não esquecer. Vamos ver.
This village is situated 57 kilometers north of Damascus. It is a village where people speak Aramaic, Christ's language. It is only a spoken language.
أنا ولدت بمعلولة وعايشة بمعلولة.
I was born in Maloula and I currently live in Maloula. Yes, I speak Aramaic. We have been exposed to danger on many occasions. First, when they kidnapped my husband. Then, when we were thrown out of our homes and driven into exile. And thirdly, when our next of kin and other relatives died as martyrs, like my maternal uncle.
I was born in Maloula, and I have always lived in Maloula. I carry out household chores, sweeping, cleaning, cooking. We are 4 girls and a boy who died a martyr.
We were sleeping when they came upon us at 5:45. They started to shout, Allah Akbar, God is great. They attacked the border guards, and then they entered the heart of Maloula. I was very scared because I was expecting my first child. I was more afraid for him than for myself. My husband was on his way to the farm when an armed band assaulted him and kidnapped him. They called me on my cell phone and told me that my husband was with them, with the Free Syrian Army. I asked to speak with him, but they didn't let me. They hung him from the ceiling by his hands. Once suspended in midair, they started to hit him. They beat him. First, for being a Christian, and secondly, for supporting the Syrian government.
We heard them as they approached our neighborhood early in the morning at 6. Before they came, we didn't think that they would come to our houses to kill us. So we didn't flee. Also because my father is an old man, and he didn't want to leave his home, and we didn't want to abandon him. We were a little bit afraid, but we prayed the Our Father before they came. We read the Psalms hoping they wouldn't enter our home. We were in our room when they entered and asked us to leave. They told us that they weren't going to do anything, but before they had left the room, they started shooting. A bullet caught me here. It went through my hand. I had dedicated myself to the Virgin, asking her not to abandon me. I pressed on the wound and I hid myself under a box. I felt the sunbeams and light around me, but I was safe despite their presence. I prayed so that God would protect me. He was the one who saved me, because there were 10 people in the room. I had heard that they heard girls when they came. If they had seen me, they would have kidnapped me. But I said nothing, and so they didn't see me.
I've wanted to come back to Maloula, first for my Christian faith, and secondly, to tell everybody the truth about what happened to us. I'm a Christian because I was born a Christian. My first faith is in God, and I will keep on being a Christian. As the saints suffered a martyr's death, so I am also willing to die for my faith. Jesus is everything, because my faith is my life. Everything is linked to Jesus. Why is my faith strong? First, because when I pray and ask something to God, it happens. My husband is well, as is my son, and I have come back home after the diaspora. That's why I feel that God blesses me and wants me to remain here, in my land.
Damascus is the oldest capital in the world that has been continuously inhabited. We are here in Damascus's Old Town, where there are historical monuments which hark back to the first church. We are near Bab Tuma, St. Thomas's Gate. This quarter has traditionally been Christian, but there is also a Muslim presence. Christianity started here. It is true that the incarnation happened in Palestine, but Christianity, with St. Paul, has taken on universal proportions here.
We live in Damascus, in Bab Tuma Square. I can't forget it. I heard the sound of bomb. I ran to the school. I found my son in the ground. The blood full of her face and body. I took them to the hospital, but he died before we get to the hospital.
But now I think that he is in a place more secure than the one where I live with my husband and my other son. I need faith to endure. I pray so that God protects my other son.
The most difficult part in the war is our fear on our children. Every time when the bus of the school arrives to pick them up and take them to school, I start praying and praying. God, please protect them. The Christians in this country has done a lot in the development of this country, in the good things. We have many scientists, poets. They are all Christian and they've done a lot during thousands of years to Syria. I live my Christianity every day with my children, in dealing with the needy people around us, in helping the others. I always feel that God is not someone watching us from the sky. Bye. God is living with us every day. He's suffering with us. I see his face in all the faces of needy people that we help. I see his face in my children's face. I see his face in my husband's face. He's all around. Bye, Maurice. The war in Syria is not between Christian and Muslims. The war in Syria, I feel it is between nations, and they are using Syrian people.
Homs, which is Syria's biggest province, had at least 500,000 Christians. When war started in March 2011, many Christians fled. Now we are approximately 100 to 150,000 Christians in the city of Homs.
The rebels went into the old parts of Homs, the Christian parts of Homs, and they kicked out the Christians, and they occupied the churches and the homes there. What happened during the last 6 years has been a total destruction of the way we used to live.
I now live in Feroz near Homs. I used to live in Al-Karatain, and my home is in Al-Karatain. First they kidnapped us, and then they threw us out, and we had to go into exile. And so later we came here. We used to have a normal life, a good life. It is true that it was mixed, but it was a normal life. There weren't any problems. I don't know the exact number, but the city was big. Around 17,000 people lived there.
Al-Qaryatain was occupied by Daesh for months and months. Most of the people left. Only 250 stayed in Al-Qaryatain. They could not run in time. So Daesh comes in. They lead all Christians to a place, one place, a hall, big hall.
They gathered all the Christians in a house. We were 271 Christians. We slept one night, and early the following morning, they picked the men and the young and brought them to the mountain, to the phosphate deposits. First, they humiliated us because we were Christians. They told us that we were non-believers, that we didn't have a faith, that we had to convert to Islam. From time to time, one of them would come and preach to us about the Muslim religion. I don't change. I'm a Christian. We prayed and prayed. We prayed in our hearts. When 3 or 4 of us gathered, we prayed quietly to avoid being heard. That we had spent about a month in the mountains, after which we were returned to our homes. But when we were brought back to Al-Karatain, it turned out that I was one of the girls claimed for Daesh. My family was settled in various houses, whilst I was locked up in a prison. God was near us, and we felt Him every step of the way. Marlene, our patron saint, the one I told you about, didn't abandon us. They took us outside and brought us to Metla a week later.
We had to negotiate the release of the 5 ladies because we were told they were going to sell them to Qatar and to other Gulf countries.
Wadi al-Nasara, the Christian valley, is mostly inhabited by Christians. Its many villages are very beautiful, full of nature, water, and simplicity.
There are a lot of people. I don't know exactly how many. We were at home, in the village beneath the castle walls. Suddenly, armed men came and laid siege to the church. Father George was kidnapped, and after a while, also Father Bassam. We were very afraid, especially for our daughters. We spent 3 years in fear. I was really scared of someone coming in for our 3 girls and me. There was fear that something might happen to the priests. Many things were destroyed. Armed men brandishing weapons above their heads surrounded the church. We threatened them with everything. We looked for intermediaries to liberate them. I wasn't angry with God. I felt that God wanted to liberate us. I married an Orthodox priest because I wanted to live a good life with him. My faith, after what has happened, remains unchanged. Now we pray. We have more faith than ever before. We pray every day and put our faith in God.
War is a difficult test. As the Gospel says, it is fire that tests our faith. It reveals the heart.
We used to go to Wadi al-Nasara on feast days, on the feast of Our Lady, baptisms and weddings. That day, we were celebrating the feast of Our Lady. On our way back, we passed a danger zone. There were some shootings there. Our bus drove into the Harasta zone. The driver told us to be careful. I was with my daughters. Both are small children. One is 3 and the other 6. I hid them under the seat. I was afraid for them, and so I stood up to protect them. I wanted to throw myself on top of them. A bullet caught me here. It went through my arm, my breast, and exploded inside my body, breaking my collarbone. The bullet finally got stuck in my back. It was a well-known fact that the bus came from Wadi al-Nasara, and that most of the passengers from the valley were Christian. Am I angry with God? No. God doesn't have anything to do with it. If God hadn't loved me, I would be dead. If God hadn't loved me, He wouldn't have wanted my daughters to remain with me.
Half of Aleppo has been occupied by rebel groups.
Part where the Christians lived has suffered a lot. We had some missiles that took out one of the cathedral walls and wrecked the stained glass windows. On the floor above us, a missile hit the refectory and the kitchen. It destroyed everything. Before the war, there were 180,000 Christians of every denomination. We don't have accurate statistical data because a family leaves almost every day. But more or less, 40,000 Christians remain.
We can't imagine this war. We can't know this bad situation. We can't bring anything. We keep everything in home and live. Rent this house. And my husband in 2015 decided to go in Italy. They don't like us. They don't like the different. And we are different. We have a peace, we have a love, we have a hope. But maybe in different people don't like these good things. The God is the boss here. Nobody still here in Aleppo. Nobody without help from God. I work, but it's not enough. The bad guys cut every way to bring the water. The Latin Church help us to many things. I think the God is the boss here. Yes.
I'm so sad for all Aleppo because it was one of the most beautiful cities ever. If you come like before the war, it was very, very, very beautiful. The terrorists threw rockets and bombs all the time, even to our homes. Like any religion, there are people that are extremists and there are people who are not like this. They say some words like when they are feasting, we can't drink water. They are very upset if we drink water, even that we are not feasting.
I am sure that our faith is what helped us during those moments. The belief that there is someone who protects our lives, that there is someone who takes us beyond what our brain can imagine. There is something protecting this world for sure, protecting us. Faith is essential for us to know that we are here because God is protecting us.
Yeah, sometimes I say why God is not helping us, why is He letting all these things happen? But then I'll say it's not like we can't blame God for everything bad happens in this world. No, we are religion people. We think that God is always watching for us. Like all the things happened here, all the bombs, like when every day when I go from my house there is bombs. Sometimes they come next to me, like in the same street. I believe that God is protecting us all the time. I feel like God is like I'm the daughter of God, so He's always looking after me. He's always taking care of me. Maybe sometimes I say, why this thing happened? It's very bad. I don't think that God is... No, but then after a while, I think that, no, it's better for me that this happened. I want to be married here because I like to live here. If I go and travel, maybe I'll live alone. I will not see my friends, my family, everything.
The main problem with getting married is that everything has become so expensive. We can't buy anything with our salaries, with the cost of living rising. There's a large part of society that doesn't understand that women can do what they want. They do not have this culture in their heads. I want to get married, but not at this time. We aren't used to this. Everything was cheaper, more accessible. It's true that there are these new things. We see it on the streets, but the idea of not discriminating against women hasn't reached all sectors of society.
If you want to go like by visa, it's very hard. You need to pay a lot of money.
I benestanti sono stati primi a lasciare.
The fluent were the first to leave. The poor are the ones who have stayed. The Old Testament talks about the remnant. God made possible his plan of salvation through this remnant. We are also that remnant.
Our presence here should be a sign of hope for the whole world.
If Syria
becomes a one-color country, if it ceases being a mosaic, that would be a retrograde step for human civilization.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind.
Chegamos ao fim do nosso programa. Despeço-me com amizade. Até à próxima semana. Até ao próximo Igreja no Mundo, se Deus quiser.